Happy New Year. Yes. That's right. I gotta watch that today.
Yeah.
Trading Places, so good.
Of all the Wall Street movies that was, ever produced by Hollywood, that was probably number 2.
Wall Street good.
1, right?
Wall Street's number 1, yeah. But Trading Places is right there. Yeah.
And then The Wolf of Wall Street probably
love it.
Distant 10 compared to Trading Places. Trading Places taught you everything you needed to know about Wall Street.
Just get back in there and sell.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to corner the frozen orange juice market.
Back then, it was that simple, right? I mean, think about it. The whole thing was about, how simple insider trading was back then. Now, information is everywhere, and everyone, for all we know, is doing insider trading.
Yes.
Which I had an interesting exchange on YouTube recently because somebody was, saying, well, why don't you give us stock advice or which we invested in 2026? And I said, I can't tell you. I like legally and ethically cannot tell you. That is not what I do.
Yeah.
You know? And so people these days don't understand what conflict of interest means. They don't understand. I mean, it's weird. They really don't. They don't know what conflict of interest means and what the implications of conflict of interest are in anything, whether it's, let's say, for an HOA, right? And becoming a board of director there, a board member there, or a large corporation, or, your fiduciary duty as an investor versus like what we do, like industry analysts. We do have certain responsibilities of being, independent in giving advice and stuff like that. I mean, for instance, if you get on a call with the investor, you can't just say anything, right? There's compliance requirements. And so, I think, back then it was more simple, it's some guy in a trench coat sitting underneath the shadows in a parking garage.
Deep throat.
The suitcase.
Here's the new crop report for orange juice in Florida. Exactly.
Anyways, what a terrible way to usher in the new year. But hey, welcome everyone. IoT listeners, fans, Merry New Year. And we appreciate you guys so much. Remember that you take us seriously. This is rule number 1 of IoT Coffee Talk, right? You take us seriously at your own risk because we're really just having fun. I don't even know if we're being informative, Rob.
We are.
Are we being informative?
You don't know it. It subconsciously just beams out to people,
We're just
but a lot of people tune in so they can hear just a long rant from Dimitri. Yeah, that's what they really. That's the entertainment.
Just
ranting? Never. I complain. I'm not trying to.
No. Okay. Well, at least the guy's honest about it, right?
Yeah. Well, who knew that we'd still be around in 2026?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. We outlived. We outlived COVID pandemic.
We outlived COVID somehow.
Think about that. Yeah.
So I thought you were going to say we outlived our usefulness, but
literally, no. Literally, the genesis of the show is from the pandemic, right? COVID.
Yeah.
So, we are an outcome. We're a byproduct.
You think about it. You think about it, Leonard. Like I remember the two of us were like rapidly before we started this show, but like a couple months earlier, like right as COVID was hitting, we were like creating all these presentations and decks and doing events where we were talking about using IoT with COVID and tracking and stuff like that, and apps, and because I just remember us being on a number of panels, and obviously remember everybody, just all conferences switched to being streaming right online. Which I've obviously made this Zoom platform popular. But yeah, you're right. That was right in it, and I remember you talking about, I don't know, some kind of blast radius thing, or I don't know, related to COVID and IoT and different, Yeah,
and then we did the code red thingy, right?
Yeah.
The different coding.
Yeah, that's right. We were going to save the world.
Yeah. Well, actually, there were a lot of good ideas, including a lot of the privacy things that we had raised, because that was a sticking point. But in retrospect, those are things to contemplate when there's another pandemic, right? It's not if, there's, when, and what readiness should look like, which is actually now, let's bring up our charity, which is Elevate Communities, which we need to promote more this year, because I think this is one of those types of events where IoT technologies, as well as the governance and policies to, let's say, for an exceptional emergency purpose, you just tweak things like privacy to ensure a lot of the capabilities that folks are going to need in order to survive an event like that, right? A disaster event. Because I remember Apple did something. There was a lot of stuff that was going on. I have everything down on notes. It's just, we're going on 7 years, right?
Yeah.
Since the pandemic broke out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of great thinking, actually. And like a lot of Saudi Arabia.
Remember I remember we're cobbling together some Android app for Bluetooth, and saying, okay, this person's got it, or this one's had it. And when you're in Bluetooth range, and then ultimately, both Apple and Google Android baked that stuff into the OS.
Yeah.
For that whole tracking detection. Did you come within 10 feet or what Bluetooth range, basically, of someone who's been exposed to COVID? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then done anonymous, with the anonymized data, which was great. But those are the types of things that, even in a disaster event, you want to make sure you have those types of privacy protections still as intact as much as possible. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's that value of shared data, knowing where people are, all this network API related stuff where you can, track and determine how many people are in a certain area. Do you know what I'm saying? Connected to your network, XYZ, being able to share that information, consent, authorized and, privacy protected way. Right. Those are important. And maybe even for a certain time, being able to release certain customer information to support, emergency service, intelligence for that moment, and then you could resend it, right? There's a lot of things to think through, and it's like what we always see. Everyone thinks that tech is magic, right? But then when you're one of the implementers, guys like freaking Bill, who are in the gap of the ugly, you see a completely different story, right? I think that's why we get so maybe frustrated with hype narratives, is because we know that it's not that easy. We know, no, these are the dependencies and none of these are there. So what you're imagining in terms of your sci-fi use case, it's not possible. Or you're misattributing the type of technology that would, enable that kind of solution. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I don't know. I think you're just rambling.
To bust into my Damon Wayans mode there, the
That
living.
would be good. We love it.
I think his name is Anton, right? Is he Anton?
What about Aaron?
What's
And Jaqueline. Never mind. I'm thinking of another skit from Key and Peele. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you ever see that one?
Say is you watched too much TV back in the day, man.
Yeah. Back in the day could have been yesterday.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I watched a lot of football yesterday, obviously, as you might imagine. So one thing I did over the holidays, and I need to do a lot more. Time went by really fast. Speaking of database stuff and T-SQL and all that stuff. So in 2024, I guess, in the spring, I'd cobbled together kind of an MVP of just smart building, smart property kind of deal to model campus, buildings, floors, skyscrapers, and then rooms and all that stuff in there. And you have IoT devices and everything, and you're bringing all that to life. So you're modeling that. And I'd always thought, like, gosh, I'd love to just expand the scope of that a little bit to just be a real smart city kind of thing, to model cities, which, seems like a lot, because, on the one hand, you can think of the Russian doll or whatever. It's like, city, property, whatever, building, floors, rooms.
The smart city babushka doll. Is that what you're?
Yeah, it's like a smart city babushka doll. That's what I was thinking. But speaking of database specific things, though, as soon as you start talking about like a thing like a municipality, and then you've got streets and you've got intersections and stoplights and you have electrical grids and you've got sewer systems and you got all this stuff. And it's like, how much do you want to take on and have it be, is it going to be the most comprehensive thing ever? Which I know other companies have built stuff like this. But speaking of database stuff, all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's more than just GPS coordinates, a point for a place. I need to know polygons, the shape, the weird shape of properties or weird shape of a city or things like that. And so, so this is your Uncle Billy here from Love Actually telling you you might have to use some built-in GIS type functions or spatial data types that are built in to different databases. Of course, they're all unique to that particular database. SQL Server has something like called geometry. Postgres has Postgres GIS. I forgot what Oracle's is called. MySQL has their own. But anyway, this is just some random obscure nerd things. But since we're all computer nerds here, if you were going to do a legit smart city system, step one, before you bring it to life with devices and cars moving and all that stuff, you actually have to model the whole thing first, right? And you can't model a city without having polygon geometry showing the weirdness of the border, the boundaries of that city. Or if you're going to say, oh, I also want to call out areas or neighborhoods within a city, you also have to, neighborhoods are strangely shaped, right? And so when did I drive into a neighborhood or an area of that city, and when did I drive out? Everything is not just a perfect box, right? Or a circle. It's it looks like a gerrymandered political district.
You know what, dude, you're so spot on, man. There's a lot of folks talking about 6G in like really weird ways. They're, I think, kind of gratuitously tipping a hat to ISAC or ESAC, integrated sensing and communications, which makes basically the cellular network a sensor, right? But this whole concept of spatial computing, where you are bringing that kind of dimension into whatever it is that you're trying to build in terms of an application, having that kind of IoT capability, because I mean, that is what ISAC does is it makes the network an IoT sensor of some sort, right? But being able to get that fidelity that you're talking about, because all you really need is a point cloud, right? you just need to know the geometry of certain things. That is not just a box on the map, but taking things to the next level where you can monitor the spatial condition or configuration or dimensions of things in an environment. And I think that can do a lot. Like even for the network, being able to estimate where blockages might be, rather than just going off of a static, let's say, 3D map, right? Because a lot of those things, I mean, if you ever notice, you go to Google Maps and you go to the real view or whatever it's called, satellite view. Yeah. You look at your house and it's like a snapshot from like 2-3 years ago, right? That doesn't help. But the cellular network can enhance the fidelity of your digital twin for, let's say, a city, right? Where you are going to have a lot of, coverage and, dense coverage. That could give you that type of visibility to the physical, the spatial characteristics of your entire city to contribute to. It adds that dimension of information to your digital twin. Do you know what I'm saying? Which would otherwise be super difficult to acquire, and typically these days is acquired through computer vision of some sort, right? And then extrapolations off of graphical files and this ridiculous process. So, dude, as you were describing that, you triggered a thought, because I have been thinking about what the hell you do with ISAC.
You got triggered. Yeah. I get triggered anytime someone says 6G.
Only on IoT Coffee Talk, dude. Seriously. Seriously.
You have to go to 7G now. So it's
7G. Yeah.
This is related to an exchange we had on LinkedIn, Rob, as well, because we're describing some of the foundational aspect of digital twin. What Leonard just said, which was missing, is the fidelity aspect. What level of fidelity do you have? It's what people don't get, because you can actually start with a low fidelity, very high level digital twin for some use cases. And some others, you need to a very high level of fidelity. Yeah. So that's what triggered. But I think the challenge in this, concept of having more and more sensors to create those better digital representation, related to your discussion on database, Rob, as well, is I still believe that we're lacking the fundamental. When I started working on digital twin at GE, when you were at Hitachi at that time, Rob, my first thinking was, well, the analogy is SQL. And SQL is a very interesting concept in the sense that you have the modeling language, which is a description of the table, and then you have the query. And they are both standardized. We don't have that in the world of digital twins. So there isn't a way to universally query digital twin system or even model them. So this is why it's so fragmented in this whole, especially in industrial IoT, because there's no such kind of a homogeneous language. And because it's mostly system integration based, all the actors in this ecosystem have no interest actually in using the same language.
My whole life is about trying to make everything work with SQL.
Yeah.
I'm being silly and serious at the same time. Over the years, we've all had to learn different programming languages, and languages get hot and then they go away, and different ones are hot, and you got to use this. But SQL is the only thing that's stayed true over the decades. And I remember when the whole NoSQL thing came out, or data lakes came out, and all that stuff, and Hive and Pig and all that. And I remember just typical people in IT and businesses, they're like, I don't know how to use any of that stuff. The only thing I know is SQL. And, how do I, and I'm not saying everyone should go learn SQL, but at least that was the only thing that seemed common thread over the decades.
Yeah, but I can't agree more. And I think that, as I just kind of alluded to, it is because it is a construct that carry both data and metadata. So you have the ability to model and then query using the model. So it is fundamentally something you don't have that in pretty much any other languages. There's kind of your what is a model view controller construct, which is associated with some languages, but it's very weak. It's just 3-dimension model view controller. Yeah. It's not as sophisticated. So SQL as a thought exercise. That's why I would say everybody should learn it, because then you learn, there's the modeling data part, and then there is the usability part. And if I have both, this is something extremely powerful.
But you know what's funny is it really is like the original no code. Right? No, because you're not really coding, right? You're not really coding. People think
you could do logic. Like, if you remember back in the 90s...
That was the agentic extension of that. Where you
nice. You just triggered me. You used agentic.
Come on, Leonard. We were 26 minutes in the show. We hadn't mentioned freaking AI. Drop agentic now. You're an analyst, man.
Dude, get with the times. It's 2026, bro.
No, just say no.
My New Year resolution is harm as much AI as possible this year.
Yes. Fire phasers. Yeah. If you think about code, thinking, SQL you could build complicated business logic in SQL. Back in the 90s, it was very common for you to put all your business logic in stored procedures.
Right.
And not, before we got to this 3-tier, 4-tier, in-tier applications that got hot after we were breaking away from just plain old client server, and at earlier times. But when it was just client server, not only did people put tons of business logic in SQL stored procedures, but they also derived better performance. It turns out that database was more powerful than your code ever could be. And we saw that all the time. And then you saw these big projects. I think it was also with the rise of Java, and things like that. And people start going, okay, am I going to use Corba? Am I going to use RMI or whatever it was, DCOM, and to have this in-tier thing. And it's like, you should pull all that logic out of your stored procedures and put it in a middle tier, right?
MCP.
And so you're going to have your client and this middle tier with business logic, and then there's the database. And guess what happened? While it abstracted the logic and you could point to different databases, which is good, the performance just tanked. The performance sucked.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. Otherwise, agentic, the MCP stuff is going to go down the toilet. Come on, man.
You're down with MCP. You know me. Yeah. We need a multi-tier MCP architecture.
N-tier.
We're going to be just like the Wayans brothers. We're just going to make up new architectures that sound plausible. And I guarantee you, people will go, tell me more. Where can I read about this? Where's the blueprints?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what, there is none. That's why it's called the N-tier or X-tier. It depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah. So,
and we even used triggers back in the day.
But it's interesting, because this is related to your initial discussion about smart cities, because in the end, it's a network thing. Yeah. These are things that are connected.
Well, yeah, but going back.
What's hard about smart cities? You want everything to be in a nice box or concentric circles or something. City, neighborhood, property, building, floors, whatever. But then you have these other things that traverse the whole city and break through these weird arbitrary barriers: streets, pipelines, electrical grids, fiber optic cable, and they're going all over the place, and it's messy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But remember, I don't know what I haven't followed up with these guys in a long time, but remember the industry IoT consortium, or what is it? The OMG they started the Digital Twin Consortium.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So they tried to create a common ontology for digital twins. So I think that's kind of like what you're suggesting is that missing link, right? Or are you talking about something different, Dimitri?
Yeah.
I don't even know where all that stuff went, but I know it's really tough to do that.
First, my opinion on this consortium is usually they are created and designed to create jobs for the people who are at the board of the consortium. So, and by the way, look on this specific one. Look at who was. I haven't checked for a long time, but look who was leading it. He's the guy that was leading Digital. So I don't know.
Yeah, Bill Rue.
But I think that what they try to do is actually not restart from scratch. Like, I want to create this common language easy to use. They looked at everything that existed and tried to create a framework for it, which makes it extremely complicated. The Europeans did something similar with the asset management shell or something like that. Yeah. But it was looking at, let's not try to create a new construct that is going to be simple for everybody and universal. Let's take what everybody has and try to organize it under a framework. So, overcomplicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's two things you can do. You can either standardize or create that middleware layer, translation layer across everyone else's mess, right? That kind of ties the messes, the different varieties of messes together. And these efforts are always so, I don't know, always difficult for them to get traction, right? Because most stakeholders, they have their own mess that they have to deal with, and standards only provide so much utility unless you're going to unify everything. Like, what was it? Like these customer 360 things that I used to do back in the financial services consulting days of my career, trying to unify the customer information and account information for a bank, right? It's a friggin' nightmare. I mean, it sounds easy. It's like, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just throw it into like friggin' Salesforce and be done with it? Like, yeah, only if it was so easy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I won't mention the firm name, but I remember a long night discussion with an analyst I liked very much, and I was actually preaching this idea of unifying, the definition of digital twin, this kind of thing. And the guys told me, Dimitri, dude, take the purchase order, the concept of a purchase order worldwide. Do you think there is a standard that is commonly applicable?
There is.
There must be. No, there isn't. Everybody has his own, and then we create kind of interfaces things.
Yes.
Purchase order.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can define a universal purchase order in SQL in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's getting it adopted across the board and people agree that this is the way to do it.
Oh, come on, dude. No, we solved that problem. There's EDI, man. EDI.
No, EDI.
No. What was the standard? There's a standard. No, dude, Ariba is used globally. SAP basically has set the standard for, nobody's like scratching their head wondering, okay, what is a schema for an invoice or a purchase order or even, yeah. I mean,
but it's the same thing as MCP. The backend processing system has their own format, and then you need a transformation.
No, but MCP is a different beast, right? That's, I think, in terms of a construct, it's similar to what we've seen in the past, but it has its own problems. Do you know what I'm saying? This SQL was very specific and deterministic, right? You learn the language, right? You learn the schemas for whatever business domain that you're using a database application for, and it was deterministic. MCP is not, right? Even for discovery or anything else, it's not, because you're using human language. And the really weird thing is that you have to learn how to talk to something that is supposed to be smart. And these things are supposed to understand things, very specifically, but they can't. And I think that's one of the big issues with MCP, or what people are going to discover in 2026 is, okay, this isn't like Corba or, stored procedures or, triggers. This is just completely different.
The challenge, Leonard, is not the MCP layer. The challenge is the backend behind is expected to be deterministic, and it is not. Because now you have this AI layer on top of it. When you go to database, you have row and columns. So it is very deterministic. Now you're calling to an agent. So what I'm saying is that the MCP is the kind of the generalization of the interoperability, but it doesn't do anything about the quality or the things on the back.
It adds a semantic layer that can be confused. It's non-specific. It's not specific. It's interpreted. It's not programmatic, which is the problem, right? You can try to instill, logic, but the technology is not logical, right? And so this is why you're seeing like Salesforce.
That's right, Mr. Spock. It's not logical.
That's why you see Salesforce and these other scripting into their agentic frameworks. It's like they're discovering, oh my God, this thing is not reliable, so we have to now embed code into it, or at least enable our customers to embed code directly into a friggin' agent. That doesn't make sense. And that's separate from the tool. Do you know what I'm saying? It's nonsense. It's weird.
But I don't think that being logical or not logical is the problem. The problem is that when you ask twice the same question, you don't have twice the same answer. So it's really the deterministic
consistency.
Is the problem.
Yeah, it's not.
You know what I liked? A friend of mine, Scott Hanselman, he's a VP now at Microsoft, but he was always a developer evangelist at Microsoft. And I love his quote that he put on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. He's basically saying this is not the year of writing an AI agent. This is the year of writing small command line utilities that do a thing really, really well, and then telling an agent about them. It's just trying to be deterministic and get shit done and have things that people really want. It's funny. Yeah. Just rows and columns. Everybody talks about, loosely coupled, not loosely coupled, but obviously instead of strongly typed and rows and columns, it's just blobs of data and unstructured data and everything being the thing. But what's really served us well is structured data and deterministic things. Like you mentioned, you're just like financial services, Leonard. I always hated to believe this, but it's true. The financial services industry, Wall Street, all that, they've always been the most advanced area of tech of everybody. No matter what you believe around who's doing the most bleeding edge stuff, more money and more algorithms and more stuff is poured into what's going on Wall Street than anywhere. It's insane.
Yeah.
And
maybe Dimitri.
And that's where we have Dimitri's Sci-based databases, and we have Oracle databases, and we have mainframes, and it maintains the entire global financial system based on strongly typed, structured data and transactions on relational databases, believe it or not. And it works really, really well, and we're trying to screw it up.
Mainframes, dude, come on mainframes, because
mainframes today, mainframes do more I/O than any other kind of computer.
And by the way, if you want to give an advice to kids like learn SQL, the second thing you should learn is COBOL.
Yes,
because
I agree.
Most of the world still runs on COBOL, and the guys are dying. They can program in COBOL.
I mean, like if we were talking to somebody who's working at Costco for 20, 30 years, they'll probably tell you the best interface that they ever used to access their Costco systems for whatever membership or purchasing was a friggin' green screen right on their old mainframe.
There's an MCP agent in front of it now. It's better.
But you're right. How many stores do you go to and you look at it and it's command line or it's a green screen or it looks like DOS or a Unix terminal? Yes. Everywhere.
But guys, let's be honest. It's not all that green or beautiful, because I'm sure you remember that, or you all traveled a lot. You remember the days where you were going to a airline check-in or airline checks and said, "Oh, I would like to change my seat." "Oh, no problem, sir." And
Sabre.
No.
And you wait like 10 minutes, the person clicking to change your seats from aisle to window.
It's worse now. It's worse now because they have to use a mouse, right? And back then, they had like quick keys, and they're like, sometimes I was like,
they have to type a prompt now. I want you to act as a.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But it's funny. I remember having flashbacks. So like when I got started, the big projects I did in the 90s were actually all trading platforms. First time I was doing one was with AIM Mutual Funds, which I think they got acquired by Invesco or whatever. And so it was building a mutual fund trading system. And what's stock trading? It's pattern matching. And it's bids and asks and hit a bid, lift and ask, all that kind of stuff and trading. Yeah. And so I was on a project to build the mutual fund deal for that. And then I find myself at Conoco doing an energy oil trading platform, and so it was a different it was a commodity as the instrument, right? In this case, still pattern matching and doing stuff. And then, and then I was at TrueQuote building an energy trading platform back in when we were connected to Enron and the Intercontinental Exchange and Dynegy and Duke Energy and all that stuff in the early 2000s. That led up to the collapse of Enron and Anderson and everything else.
So that was you.
That was me. Yeah,
it was me. That piece of code that you wrote.
Yeah, it was me. And also, all the Enron people were running on Lotus Notes, by the way, and they were actually the smartest people in the room. But I remember years later when I was designing Lumada IoT stuff. Before I was really getting obsessed about digital twins. I remember there was a time, when we were getting early versions of Lumada working. I remember telling someone, I was like, we could use this for other things. This could be a trading platform because it was doing the same stuff. It was pattern matching. There's telemetry coming in, which could have been the telemetry coming in from Wall Street or from Enron about what trades are happening on financial instruments, natural gas pipe, whatever. It's all the same thing. And it's like, what do you want to do with it? Or we could have done algorithmic program trading. But I remember a day and I had a conversation. I was like, we could totally sell this thing to Wall Street. It's not just an IoT thing. It's a pattern matching engine.
Yeah.
Execute.
And they were using expert systems long before, and decision engines, even for the customer service stuff, right? To drive event-based marketing, consultative. You're absolutely right, man. Financial services. And if you think about it, everyone talks about how e-commerce was like the big thing that came out of the .com. Actually, E-Trade and friggin' Schwab or whatever. The internet transformed financial services. It democratized everything, right? You now look at the likes of Robinhood, no fee transactions, blah, blah, blah. All these things, they are the things that were completely, transformative coming out of the .com era that persisted, if you think about it. And so you're absolutely right, man. And you and I and others who worked in the financial services sector at the time, and that's like when I was at PwC, that was my sector assignment. And I did a lot of stuff during the .com era with financial services companies. And prior to that with, like the likes of InfoSeek and, Yahoo and all that.
Right.
EY. But when you compare the neo.com companies were doing like fledgling stuff, the more advanced things that were being done with the web, right, and the internet were being done by the financial services companies. So, dude, yeah, totally, man.
And remember, when you think about it, ultimately what we got to was a rich web, a rich HTML, where you could see grids and all your financial instruments and red, yellow, green, things going up, prices going up and down, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But in the early days, the early web wasn't very good at that kind of stuff. And so we embedded Java applets into web pages. We embedded ActiveX controls into web pages. And we would stream data to the client, to the browser,
Yeah.
and put it into that applet, basically, because the applet was the only thing that could do a rich graphical interface until then we got HTML4, and then we got Ajax, where you could make a call from a page, right, without refreshing the whole page. Ajax was huge. Ajax was a game changer, actually. And then obviously HTML5 has been a game changer, but that came a lot later.
Unfortunately, by that time I was a partner, so I wasn't in the weeds working with stuff. That was unfortunate because I loved all that.
It was fun,
but yeah, I knew because I had to manage teams and architects who were dealing with that stuff. So
and so for the longest time, we were still building native apps for desktop PCs. Because like if you think about think of traders on a trading floor, most of them have multiple screens, right? And back then it was not web based because web was just not fast or good enough. So it was native apps, and so it was either Win32 native apps that could do that, or it was Java Swing apps. If you remember Java and the GUI from Swing components, because that was the only way you could have that rich interface that was responsive and just as rich as a trader needed it to be. Before the web was finally capable of doing that.
So I guess I'll have to correct myself here. It wasn't porn that made the internet go ballistic. It was actually financial services that drove a lot of the innovations you're talking about, right?
Push the envelope.
I think we can.
I think
argue about that.
Drove a different aspect of innovation. Actually, e-commerce and digital payments.
There's
e-commerce.
There is another industry which usually always also drive tons of innovation, but it doesn't translate that much in society. It's the military. So military,
that's true. Yeah,
that's true.
And also potentially when there are, but it doesn't seem to exist anymore nowadays. But there were eras where the space conquest, for instance, in the 60s and 70s, drove an enormous amount of innovation that the microwave was invented for space. So, but
great point.
We don't seem to have those, life-changing or humanity-changing global projects anymore. And I think that's an issue related to the very opening session of this show is, conflict of interest. When you don't have leadership at the highest level that show discipline on that, how do you expect people to understand? And I'm not getting political about the US. It's everywhere in the world now. The conflict of interest happens at very, very high level in our societies now. And that's,
you're right. I mean, the problem with conflict of interest is that it undermines true innovation. What it does is it distracts the flow of capital to things that are not substantial, right? And so, this is probably what we're seeing now in AI, and what we'll probably see play out in 2026. Because before we end this episode, because I have no idea how we got to where we are at this point in the conversation, it just like
every conversation.
Then we have to do some predictions for the new year, but. Even with AI and what we see now happening with China and what China is accomplishing on the model front, think about how much the narrative has changed from the beginning of last year. Inference it's flipping everything. And so what you were thinking last year, the beginning of last year, we're entering 2026 with a totally different situation. But the funny thing is, most people don't know that. And there's a thing that I coined called AI continuous AI unlearning. You need to be good at understanding what you need to forget, because whatever you believe right now is probably wrong, because it was based on something you learned 2 years ago, 3 years ago on the surface about AI. And the situation is totally changing and drifting. So, anyways, and the problem here is that when you do have all these conflicts of interest, like the circular investment going on, where you have the governance is like just totally out of whack, right? The cross-party governance is totally weird. You're going to have other people who are focused on true innovation because they're constrained that will be able to beat the dynamic that's playing out right now in the West with AI. Because, this whole idea that you need more infrastructure to get better, I think is the worst attitude to have about the future of AI. I think it's more about how can you do better with less, right? And that's always been the winning formula. And I think that these conflict of interests are preventing the industry from understanding that is what the mindset that you should have is more for less, right? Instead, we're more for more. Yeah. I don't know how do you win with that? We need an energy crisis in order to win the AI race.
But the root cause is always the same, and you hear me rant about that several times. And to your example, Rob, when you say, "Oh, I was in financial institution, I was looking at pattern matching," so you're telling me that investment is about pattern matching. So you're telling me that investment is not about understanding the business you're putting your money in and figuring out if it makes sense. No, it is not. It's about, so until we change this narrative, this objective, the objective is not to make money with money. The objective is to do something good that will ultimately make money. Nothing else.
Well, that's a good point, Dimitri, because we have two sides of the spectrum when we think about stock trading, right? You have actual investors that are in there for the long haul, or they're value investors like Warren Buffett and Phil, and Benjamin Graham, and you've got all these other and then you have technical traders, technical analysis that are all they're doing is looking at the pattern matching and the graphs and charts, and they don't care anything about the business at all.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is because it's all electronic. So, and that's a problem. So, and also I do believe I probably said that on the show as well, is that one of the big issues is that when you invest money, you have no responsibility. The only thing that can happen is you lose it. I always take the example of Volkswagen. Volkswagen polluted the planet and killed monkeys with their diesel crap for 10 years. What happened? The stock went down for 1 quarter. We fired a bunch of executives, and then 2 quarters later, everything was back. The people that make ton shit of money for 10 years during those years of bad things, what happened to them? Nothing.
No. Yeah.
So as soon as we find a way where you have actually, and I always take this analogy, if you're an architect and you build a house, you don't build the house, you make the blueprints, and somebody builds the house according to the blueprints and the house collapses. I don't know how it works in the US, but in France you have a responsibility for 10 years. So you have to get an insurance and save money because for 10 years you did the blueprint, somebody built the house, the thing collapsed, you have a responsibility. Put a mechanism like that in investments, the world changes overnight.
Yeah, it drives diligence. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is all those executives, they basically just adhered to the Gordon Gekko greed is good philosophy.
Well, but no, what I'm saying is that the counterpoint is that I'm not blaming the executives. And actually the reason why the executive gets those golden parachutes is because they carry the shit responsibility for all the other investors during that time frame that made money and will not have any impact on them. The problem is not in the executive. The problem is in the mass of investors. Anyway, it is the way.
Wow.
I put some thinking about it.
But that could be the, I mean, it could very well be the result of the democratization of the investment. Yeah. Going back to E-Trade and Robinhood, and then now this emergence of meme trading, and I think a lot of these things have just basically made the stock market into casinos, right? And there's a departure from fundamentals. It's more about like what Rob was talking about. Trading on the technicals, which is what crypto is. Nobody talks about fundamentals on crypto. They go, well, went down today, and we think that it could be this or that, or like, dude, just shut up. You have no
right.
idea.
There's no fundamentals. There's no business behind it.
You're just trading on technicals, right? And then there's, the uncomfortable truth for these guys is there's only a handful of people who own almost all of it, and they have an outweighed influence on what happens with these markets, right? And when you consider that it's probably Russia, North Korea, and China,
and the Winklevoss twins,
patriotic duty.
Winklevi.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's turning out to be quite true. I mean, if one of the things that I noticed is that, in terms of volume, since its inception, crypto, there's been almost $40 trillion in volume that has passed through Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. And it's only reached 1.7 trillion in market cap, or even, I think it's lower now. It's like 1.5. Think about that for a moment. When these bozos get on it and start talking about how it's a store of value, really? You're telling me that you have, $40 trillion that have transacted through this thing in 10 years or 15 years. And you have to remember that the volume of that happened recently, the last couple of years. Before that, Bitcoin was like what? A couple of cents. So you're not going to get to a trillion in the early days of Bitcoin. This is all happening now. $40 trillion. Is that a store of value? That's not a store. A store of value means that it's going up, people are putting money in, and then they are investing in crypto. Well, what about this 40 trillion that's just kind of going through?
Moved around.
Do you think it's as arbitrary as gold or silver?
No,
you know what? That's the beauty of gold. No, because you cannot do that with gold because you have to lift that shit up and ship it somewhere.
You can touch it and you can use it to do things.
Which is probably the reason why the Chinese are trying to hoard as much gold as possible. Because
what we've seen over the last several years, gold has skyrocketed and silver is at the highest heights it's ever been.
Rare earths are a big deal. Things that are truly rare.
And what does that tell you when you see gold and silver going like that? It means there's a whole lot of people that are nervous about the economy, and that's their hedge against a possible coming collapse that they're worried about.
And then crypto is like tanking.
Yeah.
Right? And then, and of course, it doesn't know where to go because nobody fundamentally knows.
Right. And so there's
stuff.
Every time a retail investor hears someone mention AI bubble, they go buy another bar of gold to protect themselves.
Well, I think it's the perfect representation of the stupidity of humanity. So, because the other thing that if you think about it, the amount of energy it requires to make this whole thing work, and if you think about it, because in order for people not to cheat, we've invented a system where we have to waste an enormous amount of calculation so that the next block can be mined in 10 minutes so that it can be safe. So think about it. Think about how stupid, think about how stupid this is. Because we can't trust the transaction between people, we end up having this gigantic computing things running to find this block thing. If you think about it philosophically, you should be depressed for the whole year.
Nah,
I'm depressed.
Yeah, right but let's make some bright spot predictions before we close out this rather depressing kickoff to the new year on IoT Coffee Talk.
Well, I think it's difficult, but I'm going to stand what I said in the beginning of the show. I think what people should do this year is harm AI, and by harming, I mean use it at its limits. Don't trust it at what it is, but stress test it. Learn how to stress test it and learn how it works and I think I posted on LinkedIn, I have my new Matter. Matter. Actually, don't think we should stop. I'm going to stop calling this AI. It's not artificial intelligence. It's a measurement between artificial nonsense and artificial cleverness. We are not where near in artificial intelligence. Maybe one day. So maybe trust your AI is my message.
Jan LeCun will agree with you. You're a fellow country guy.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
By the way, I love the artificial cleverness term. I didn't coin it. Somebody, I don't remember who, but I think it's a great way because those things can be clever at points, but it's not intelligence yet.
It's not just mimicking things.
And it's often artificial nonsense.
Yeah, right. All these big companies have gone all in on it, though, haven't they?
Yeah.
And every analyst I know is pumping it and saying it's the future and it's agentic. Everyone is. Every leader of every analyst firm is all in with agentic AI. Even if in the back of their minds they might go, or this might all be bullshit.
But we'll make money in the meantime.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, I think they'd be doing a better service to their clients if they just were straight up and gave them guardrails and filters to filter out the BS, right? Otherwise, their clients are going to waste money. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways,
this is actually a great point.
Conflict of interest.
This is a great point, Leonard. I think the whole analyst community should switch to here are the tools to filter the BS.
Yeah, I mean there are ways to get safer AI. It just looks nothing like what a lot of the consulting firms and vendors are shopping out there. It's complicated and it's multi-domain. When you just look at, like, let's say how to secure an LLM for enterprise use, wow, it's really, really complicated. And there's a lot of, you literally have to secure things all the way up the stack, from hardware all the way up to the application. And whatever distributed application, if you're networking this stuff, the networking layer as well. So you have to have microsegmentation. You have to have, software defined isolation. There's all these things that people haven't thought about. There's hints of it, but no one's really put this stuff together. And I'm gonna write a note about it soon. Actually, I should have wrote this like 2 years ago, but
I'm going to give you 2 predictions that will not come true.
Okay.
Prediction number 1. All these big companies who've laid off so many employees will wake up and realize that the AI they're replacing these employees with aren't working. They're not delivering what they thought it was. And they rehire all those employees. So that's prediction number 1, which won't come true this year. Prediction number 2.
Bullet.
Prediction number 2. To take care of all the laid off people and the mass, unemployment, the U.S. government and all the governments of the world will institute this universal basic income to take care of people in this tough times of transition where we go from dystopia to abundance we know is coming. And so UBI will go out there immediately. It's going to happen this year and everyone's going to be taken care of. And so we don't have mass unemployment and riots in the streets and burning down buildings and some cars and stuff like that. So my other prediction that also will not happen is that universal basic income will come online in every country in the world this year to take care of humanity, because people care more about the welfare of people than money and greed.
Well, you can add universal health care to the mix.
You know what?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Let's throw that in there. Universal health care. Every country, it's going to be built in. Everyone's going to have it. Everyone's taken care of.
I think that's the basis. You have the basis of a really great dystopian novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That just sounds totally terrible to me.
It does. The sad thing for a writer of dystopian fiction is that all their good ideas are being taken away by reality.
Exactly. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's true. And so, no, that's a good one.
Do you have any good predictions, Leonard?
I have a prediction. I already kind of made it. There's only one. I mean, there's all these people putting out predictions and, getting all detailed and stuff like that about, and have like 10 predictions that they have. I have one, which is the AI slop one. It's going to get so bad that it's actually going to create jobs. The ones that we've talked about on IoT Coffee Talk, the janitor, right? The babysitter, and, the plumber. And so, somebody recommended there really should be 4, which is the doctor, right? When the AI gets sick or the slop just, diseases and it afflicts everybody, you need a doctor to take care of you. It's not good enough to just have a babysitter. Babysitter is there for maintenance, right? Sustainment, maybe making sure that you're nurturing your AI and enabling it to grow, right? Which these things don't do.
Oh, it's a good idea. AI babysitter. It's a good idea.
Yeah. And it's like really weird when I had asked AI to Perplexity to generate it, it has a bias that a babysitter has to be female, and that was not my intent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point.
But
wow. Another prediction, is that
won't come true or will come true. Or do you have to phrase it in reverse? So
if AI keeps on trucking the way it is, all right, this is related to AI girlfriends and boyfriends.
Yeah.
We're already seeing a decline in birth rates around the different parts of the world. That will be accelerated by your AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Mm-hmm. And so the other prediction, it only takes roughly 100 or so years to completely depopulate the entire planet.
Yeah.
0 people on the planet. And it seems crazy. You have billions of people and it could go to 0, but it could that fast. And so the whole AI relationships, AI girlfriend, boyfriend thing, that's going to do is accelerate the decline in birth rates, which is also going to accelerate the decline in populations in all countries.
Yeah. That's actually quite plausible.
Yeah,
that could happen.
Maybe not in 1 year.
No.
Not in 1 year. No, you're right.
But 5-year horizon, you should see effects. I agree with you.
Yeah, we should start seeing effects. So we should track that starting now.
Yeah, we should. And then, riffing off of that, I have a couple of predictions for Hollywood this year that we are going to see in the script rooms 2 films drop. Okay, an idea for Her 2, right? The Reckoning, or the frigate. Yeah, that sounds good. You have to have like a single, anyway. And then Terminator 7, right?
Oh,
yeah, the non-militarized extinction of humanity.
There you go. Self-extinction.
Yeah, self-extinction.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm hearing these stories about the percentage of young men going up to a higher and higher age who have actually never even asked a girl out on a date at all. Like, there's stats out there, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Especially, guys won't know what to do. They'll go, oh.
The question is that going to be a reverse idiocracy or not? So
yeah. Okay. On the bright side, though, for the IoT community, I think that digital twin and IoT will get love this year.
Yes.
Yep.
So we are going to build deterministic digital twins, deterministic IoT, rows and columns in databases, SQL, to find answers to questions, real answers, not probable answers, but real answers. And so you'll know what you know instead of going, I could have just gone with my gut on that one.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's an episode, right? That's a wonderful. I think this is our 6th year. Sixth New Year's or 7. I've lost track. I mean, we're really fast approaching a decade of IoT Coffee Talk. It's like nuts. But you want to take us out, or you want me to do it?
Oh, I think you should do it.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I just have to say we appreciate everyone tolerating us for almost, going on 7 years. This is pretty amazing. And we appreciate your viewership as well as your listenership. And, we do this just because we just like to share. I mean, we sound like a bunch of grumpy old guys, which is probably true. And if you made it this far, you're like 1 out of like 0 people that have made it this far, but that's amazing. That's an amazing accomplishment, and we really appreciate it. And if you make a comment below, we'll hype you guys up. or you up, because it's got to be one person, right?
It's got to be.
But yeah, we really do, in true honesty, hope that you have a wonderful year. Looks like it's going to be a pretty bright one for IoT if we don't hype it up and get ridiculous and hide true solutions with a bunch of, IoT slop. So if we can keep that discipline, which is what we're going to try to do here, or we try to do here on IoT Coffee Talk, then we can make something big happen, even with digital twin, right? Let's not get silly and ridiculous. And so do come back and watch us and watch our old episodes, because we've already addressed and solved problems that we are about to revisit and redo in this, renewed cycle of IoT hype that I think we all believe is going to happen, driven by AI. Yeah. And so remember to like, share, and comment, and
ring that bell.
Subscribe. Yeah, ring that bell and subscribe at www.iotcoffeetalk.com. And also, 2026 is going to be a big one for Elevate communities, because as we explained earlier on, the communities need to be resilient. We need to be ready to leverage technology to help save lives, save property, and to recover quickly from these natural disasters that are happening. And it's important to protect communities that are maybe not as well resourced as others. And so this is really what we're going to try to do.
We're here to help.
Yeah. And so, we're going to be reaching out to some of you folks and companies that have good hearts that want to contribute to this effort. So, anyways, Merry New Year, everybody.
Merry New Year. See you next year. Oh, wait, it is next year. Adios.